watching pop superstar Lizzo play a 200-year-old crystal flute that was owned by President James Madison. The instrument was loaned to Lizzo by the Library of Congress. It was crafted in 1813. The flute was a gift to President Madison for his second inauguration. Very interesting history there. Not everyone was happy about it, though. Some conservatives blasted Lizzo online for twerking while playing the flute, twerking being one of her dance moves she's known for. The Library of Congress really took out a 200-year-old flute that belonged to James Madison just so Lizzo could twerk with it. They degrade our history and then call you racist if you actually value it. That was from a conservative on the screen. Looks like that's Greg Price. And I know you're a big Lizzo fan, Briahna.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lizzo happens to be one of the more positive stars out there. She is very uplifting and warm and gracious. She has a huge fan base because of it. Her music is very joyful. Her concerts are very joyful. And she also happens to be a trained flautist. So it looks like this Flute has been kind of out of the public eye, unseen for 200 years, and now we're all talking about it and getting this wonderful piece of history because the people at the Library of Congress have lent it to Lizzo to play here at a concert, and there are also some clips of her playing it and really demonstrating her talent as a flute player.
Yeah, she's very talented. I think the conservatives that are mad about the twerking.
They're mad about the twerking.
Look, I admit I can't work up any anger about this whatsoever. Her flute playing is lovely. Who cares?
Yeah,
otherwise,
I think it's important
I don't know.
to do these things. Oh, here's a clip of her in the Library of Congress. I think.
Yeah, this is amazing. And people were not, to be clear, people were not mad about this one.
Well,
I think they were not that mad. So Ben Shapiro tweets, "This Lizzo flute controversy is a perfect example of what I have termed face tattoo phenomenon. The phenomenon whereby someone does something deliberately controversial in an attempt to draw attention, then acts offended when you notice." And he says, if all we had seen was the clip of Lizzo playing the flute in the halls of the Library of Congress while wearing a semi-modest outfit, everyone would have shrugged, but that's not the clip everyone championed as groundbreaking. It was the clip with the twerking. But I want to talk about that for a minute. So he says the face tattoo. So somebody gets a face tattoo, and then you are provoked by it, I guess, and then that's the reaction. But you're conceding that that's the reaction that they want. If your view is people are going around, or people like Lizzo, people on the left, I guess, whoever we're talking about, they're trying to provoke you, then shouldn't you try harder not to be provoked?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't that, this is like the stop hitting me, and then you get upset, and then you give that person what they want.
Right.
Like, if your theory is they're trying to get a rise out of you, I would think you should just absolutely stop playing into it. Just don't care and move on.
Because Ben Shapiro, he's playing his own side of the game. There's a reason when the song WAP came out, he dedicated so much time to criticizing it and doing his own little read of the lyrics of the song that were then flipped into a rap song in and of itself. Like, he benefits also from these anger media cycles. It's a whole thing. And look,
that song I really like. I'm a big fan of that song.
Of course, you're a Cardi B stan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that song in particular. It's catchy.
Duly noted, Robby. What I love about this, Robby, is that a few months ago when we were covering a different Lizzo story, you were like, I don't think I know any Lizzo songs. And then today, before we started recording this one, you started singing about how it's bad beat, o'clock, it's fix.
I've learned I hear it on the radio enough now.
They're catchy songs.
Yeah.
Okay, I will also say this. I don't think that Lizzo was trying to be intentionally provocative. She obviously, as you saw from these clips, she like does that little dance a lot. She wiggles her bottom. She twerks a lot. I think that's an authentic representation of herself. You don't have to like it, but I think it is an unquestionable good for a flute that nobody knew existed until this to have so much focus on it and for us to know so much about the history now because it's actually being played by someone who is a talented musician and who has an audience and a platform to bring that history to the foreground.
There were a few, though, people who were mad coming from the other direction, from the left or from progressives, whatever you want to call them, who were mad that you would give any kind of acknowledgement to an instrument that was owned by a former slave owner, etc. So there were, here's a tweet from someone who's calling out Lizzo as basically like a white supremacist or something for being.
They think that wearing an American flag hat and playing James Madison's flute is kind of jingoistic in a way that is counter to what left politics or whatever. I frankly I hear the criticism. I don't care about it. I think that it's interesting history. I was never one of the, take down statue types. I'm more of, some probably are so egregious, but mostly I'm for contextualization and helping people to understand the history for what it was, not erasing it altogether. One other thing I'll say about this, I had a violin teacher who's a jazz violinist, very talented woman who participated in one of these programs where she was lent a Stradivarius violin that was insured for like millions of dollars for this exact same reason, because otherwise these are museum relics that sit somewhere, and these were things that were meant to be played. The most amazing, best manufactured instruments in their class, and I think it's obviously a good thing for them to be out in the world on loan to musicians who can actually use them instead of sitting in a drawer somewhere. The Library of Congress responded to critics who say it was inappropriate for Lizzo to play such an old flute, saying, quote, "For those concerned about the flute, music division curators made sure it could be played without damage. This sort of thing is not all that unusual. In fact, some of the library's priceless instruments were donated with the stipulation that they remain functional and be played." So to that point,
just as you said.
Yeah.
It's the point of a musical instrument is to be played, right? There, we want to preserve interesting things and talk about history, but just always having something on the shelf out of reach to look at is not necessarily always the point.
And it's all of our history. I think there's something really beautiful about how, some people might be mad, but I think it's lovely that we live in America where a woman like Lizzo can play that flute and for it to be enjoyed by so many people, and to have an appreciation for the artistry and the craftsmanship and the history of this country. So I think it's a win all around.
Really glad nobody dropped it. That would have been a fitting end. The flute has been played and now shattered across the stage.
It's a revolutionary act.
That would have made some people mad. All right, we'll have more Rising after this. I'm going to play you out with a little Lizzo's Flute.